What's up, Moto?
Hey, Dennis.
Good to see you.
Safety is our #1 priority here, so you want to make sure that your brakes are up to snuff.
Work with products and customers.
Love it. And what Tesla do you drive?
I have a...
So about to head into Unplugged Performance to see what's in store for us today. Today, we're heading up to Unplugged Performance because, as you guys know on the channel, we're taking this Tesla Model 3 Performance to the track. And I'm actually a little anxious because A, I've never been to the track. I've never been to a track in a Tesla, let alone a Tesla Model 3 Performance. And so the point of this video is I want to make sure that we get everything, all the ducks in a row before taking a stock Model 3 Performance to the track because I just want to make sure everything is a-okay. So it's essentially a little bit of an inspection and ask the guys at Unplugged Performance, what do you need to do before taking your Tesla Model 3 to the track? Or maybe it's nothing, you can just take a stock Tesla Model 3, which you probably could, to the track. So let's head on our way to Unplugged Performance and see what they have to say. And if you're wondering what track day this is Tesla Corsa, which is a partner of Unplugged Performance. It's a pretty cool event. I mean, it sounds like a cool event. They've got 3 different levels to this. You can do beginner, intermediate, or advanced. As you guys know, we're a complete beginner, so this is a fantastic opportunity to A, take our Tesla on the track and see what the limits are on a powerful 0 to 60 vehicle in 2.9 seconds. So pretty excited to see what actually happens. It's always fun to go to Unplugged Performance because they are right next to SpaceX and probably the Boring Tunnel and definitely the Tesla Design Studios. So there's just always a lot going on here.
A few moments later.
It's always fun getting to Unplugged Performance because there's just so many Teslas here. I mean, we've got a green Model 3 Performance right next to us. We got Tesla Model 3s over there, one with the crazy Cyberhex rims that we had on our Cybertruck before. We've got a wrapped Model Y, and so it's always pretty fun. But let's go inside, meet up with Moto to talk about what we're gonna be doing today to get our Tesla Model 3 Performance ready for track day at Tesla Corsa. All right, so about to head into Unplugged Performance to see what's in store for us today. What's up, Moto?
Hey, Dennis.
Good to see you.
How's it going?
Are you excited for today?
Oh yeah. I mean, anything to help you get out to the tracks.
I love it. Let's get into it. And you might be wondering who I'm with. This is Moto. Moto, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Right now, I am the product manager and motorsports advisor at Unplugged Performance. And my job is to just build race cars, work on race cars, work on products that people might enjoy, and just kind of work with products and customers.
Love it. And what Tesla do you drive?
I have a Model 3, but this is a relatively new thing for me. I've been motorsports guy all my life. I've been different places, a lot of aftermarket Japanese companies, and also I was part of development of the BRZ 86 at Toyota during development, as well as the Supra before coming here. But just this whole EV movement's taken over. Yep. And the COVID kind of hit, and there's just a good chance for me to jump out of my comfort zone and come learn about electric cars, basically.
Love it. Thanks so much. All right, so step 1 is we're going to get the Model 3 inspected to make sure everything is a-okay before we head up to Tesla Corsa, which is going to be next week. We're at Unplugged Performance and we're here with Luke. Did you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Dennis. My name is Luke. I'm here with Unplugged Performance, and today we're going to be doing an inspection on his new Model 3. He's going to be getting it ready for Tesla Corsa.
Nice, awesome. So this is going to be my first time going. What are like the top 5 to 10 things? And we can walk around the car.
Sure.
And you can show me directly as we look at it together because, it's a new-ish car, but I feel like there's still stuff you have to kind of take a look at, right?
Yeah, 100%. There's a few different things. Come on with me. First things first, you want to make sure that your tires have enough tread. The last thing you want to do is show up to a track day and then have like one lap and then get a blowout or something of that nature. So you want to make sure that your tread is even from the inside to the outside of the tire, as well as you have at least 2/32 of tread I think you should have at least 80% of the original tread. But regardless, you definitely want to make sure that your tires have enough life for you to get out there and have fun, as opposed to getting out there and then wasting your time.
Yep.
Another thing, safety is our #1 priority here, so you want to make sure that your brakes are up to snuff. A lot of Tesla owners heavily rely on regen, so a lot of them are not as aware or not actively using their braking system as actively as other vehicles. So it's always important before you take your car to the track to at least make sure that you press those brakes hard a few times and make sure they're functioning as you want them to.
Right. Well, going back to tires, should I have a second set, or I've heard people have racetrack sets, or maybe even just bring one extra spare just in case? What would you say is the recommended?
You don't necessarily need to bring a spare. A lot of the time there are a lot of other enthusiasts there that will help you if something were to occur. They also actually have a tire shop there as well. Not that anybody wants to go drive to a track and buy a new tire, but yes, it is always beneficial if you can and you have the room for it to get an extra set of track wheels and tires to throw in there. If you're a beginner, that doesn't mean you have to go throw a few $1,000s in a new set. You definitely want to get some seat time first to determine what your capacity is as a driver and what opportunities and areas you need to improve upon first.
Nice. And so this is a fairly new Tesla Model 3 Performance. Brakes wise, if it's probably got less than 10,000 miles, you probably don't have to worry about it. What if it's when it hits 30,000, 40,000 miles, is that where someone should really take a look at it? Or?
Yeah, definitely. There's a few things with brakes. So one thing that we find from the vehicle, from the factory, a lot of the time it comes with DOT3 fluid, and that fluid has a relatively low boiling point relative to racing brake fluid. Okay. And so that's one of the kind of direct upgrades that we recommend to everyone, because if you don't upgrade that fluid capacity, then you may actually experience some brake fade on the track, which is a mixture of a safety concern and also kind of ruins your day, because you can't keep having fun on the track. So something to keep in mind.
Sweet. What else?
The other thing to keep in mind as well is just making sure that everything on your vehicle is functioning properly. So usually what we do is we remove all of the wheels from the vehicle and inspect all of the suspension components. So we want to check torque on everything. Not that Tesla didn't torque stuff from the factory. I'm sure they did it fine. But it's always good, because as you drive, things will loosen and chassis will flex and things of that nature. Just through wear and tear of the vehicle. So it's always essential to make sure that before you take the car to the track and actually do a stress test, that everything is up to snuff and everything is torqued down properly. On that note, with those suspension links, your vehicle alignment is absolutely essential as well. Okay. When it comes to those suspension links, not only making sure that they're torqued properly, but that your vehicle is driving straight. I've seen people come to the track with a poor alignment, and that can actually directly affect their tire wear, because you're driving in a much more extreme condition, right? So if you're, let's say you have a little bit of toe that's pulling your vehicle a certain kind of way, it can cause accelerated wear and actually literally eat up your tires way faster than you anticipated and ruin your track day and essentially make your session end a lot sooner than you intend.
That's crazy, yeah. So basically, so far it's brakes, tires, alignment, check for leaks, and I mean, Unplugged can do all of this as well, right?
Oh yeah. The other thing is going to be pad life itself. So when you are checking your brake pads, you want to make sure that you have enough life in them. One thing that we have found is, anybody who's tracked their car knows you do use a lot of brakes, because you are, going as fast as you can in the straights, and then you have that late braking zone so that you can essentially make that turn as fast as possible and get your track times down, or your lap times down. But in that sense, you want to make sure that you have enough brake pad life, because if you show up to the track, let's say 40 to 50% of your factory brake pad life, it is something you might run through in a single session. Wow. So it's just something to keep in mind. Okay. Because these cars are so much heavier with their batteries relative to ICE cars. Right. The use of that brake pad when you are actively pressing those brakes and not relying as much on regen is definitely something to keep in mind. Yeah,
because I didn't know that. You were just telling me earlier, I thought when I was going to go to the track, I would just leave regen on and have that assist me, but you're supposed to turn that off?
Yes. So it's actually a huge benefit to turn regen off because of the way that these vehicles operate. So when you're on the track and you're doing a lot of acceleration and then letting off of the accelerator, if you have regen on, what it's doing is it's essentially putting power back into the battery and then taking it out. And by doing that so frequently in such an extreme case, what it ends up doing is it heats up the temperature of the battery pack to a point where the software of the vehicle may actually limit your overall performance output as a result. So what a lot of people do in track mode, it's kind of one of those things you want to ease yourself into, right. But essentially you usually start with your ABS and braking in the middle and your regen in the middle, but a lot of people, as they fine-tune their vehicle and become a lot more skilled as a driver, they will actually bring the amount of regen and ABS activity down so that they can focus on their driving style and get more like seat time, because their battery is not actually going to be overheating at that point. But it's about kind of building that relationship with the car and building that confidence in your driving.
Gotcha. Quick question. So like, if I arrive there and I charge at the superchargers there, like how much of the battery will I kill throughout the day at just the Corsa?
Great question, great question. So usually we charge in between sessions and we run a beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And the way that we run our sessions is in a way that allows you to essentially charge your vehicle, let it cool down, and get finish your preparation before the next session. So it's relatively smooth. We have it blocked out pretty well, but a lot of the time you really just want to make sure you have at least 70% in your battery, because these Model 3 platforms, they do kind of start to reduce the amount of power performance or power output on these vehicles as the battery percentage does drop. They don't put out as much as like the Plaid platform does when you get to the lower percentages. So for actual performance driving on the track and the best results, you definitely want to make sure you have that battery higher in the percentage as possible, or as high in that range as possible, to make sure that you can have as much performance where it counts on the track.
That makes sense. Sweet. Anything else that we should take a look at, or you should be looking at beforehand?
Yeah, a few things. So it's really important that you take the time to run through your vehicle from bumper to bumper before you go. There is some preparation that you have to do when you get to the track, but kind of the more important things is from a safety perspective, is making sure that everything's removed from your vehicle. Most Model 3s are daily driven vehicles, so sometimes you have things like a bunch of safety equipment in the back, or like camera gear, or like all that kinds of stuff, right? So you want to make sure that you're pulling out all of the panels, like from the trunk of your vehicle, from the front of your vehicle, just so that there's nothing that can move around and get damaged. You are going to be applying a lot of G-force when you're driving on the track, so keep in mind anything that you think is sitting there that's fine, it shouldn't get knocked over or spill, it will. So you want to make sure that you're preparing yourself so that you don't get a surprise water bottle flying into your infotainment system as you're hitting the brakes, kind of thing. So that is definitely a huge essential thing that a lot of people do miss when it comes to track prep.
I was just thinking I'm just gonna roll up with all my stuff in the car, but you're right, I should take it all out.
Yeah.
That's funny. Sweet.
One eternity later.
On the outside of the T, if I remember correctly, because that's where the split ring stops.
Yeah.
So I just find it comes off the easiest that way. Now that we have the wheels off, it gives us access to check a few things. First, we want to make sure that the brake pads themselves have proper life.
Okay.
Another thing we want to check is to make sure that the wheel speed sensor assembly is actually properly fixed to the upright. We have seen cases where if for some reason this is not properly secured, it can send incorrect feedback or inconsistent feedback to the car. Okay. And by not having proper wheel speed sensor data, it can actually kind of remove a lot of performance activities, which is not what you want on track, especially when you're doing aggressive dynamic driving. The last thing you want is for the car to give you input that you weren't expecting. Right. So just make sure that that entire assembly is properly secured. Outside of that, just checking torque and then checking the brake lines themselves. So you basically have the hard line where it connects to the soft line here, and then this essentially runs to the caliper. So checking both of these points here, as well as the bleeders, just to make sure that there's no surprises or any fluids leaking. It may not come off as fluid if you do have a leak. It may be more of like a residue with a bunch of dirt. So if you see this huge chunk of dirt with a bunch of debris in it that's near one of the fittings, that's kind of an indication that it was leaking and probably still is, but now there's just a bunch of debris soaking up the fluid, so it's not as obvious. But just something to keep in mind. If you do see a bunch of material that looks like it's dark in color and next to a hose fitting point, it's probably a sign of a leak. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and measure these brake pads here, make sure those are okay. In terms of leaks, I don't see any residue built up around any of the brake line points or the bleeder valves, which is good. And then we're gonna go ahead and check torque on the lower 21 here. Just for fun on that shock, make sure that stays there. And then we're also going to inspect both front and rear drive units just by pulling off these under panels, just to make sure that everything is looking up to snuff and we don't see any surprises there as well. So one thing to keep in mind in terms of brake pad life, this little clip from the factory is designed to hit the rotor when you run out of brake pad material, so that you can audibly hear that you do need replacement brake pads. So keep in mind, if you do hear some really aggressive squeaking from your brakes and you have maybe 30,000+ miles on the car might be telling you, hey, I need some help with these brake pads.
That makes sense. Yeah, but Tesla's, I mean, because it has regen, I feel like a lot of people have a lot of brake left.
Yeah.
It's until they go to a track day and then actually use it.
Yeah, 100%. I've actually seen some Tesla, mostly Model Ys, some of them come in and they still have the primer on the brake pad after 20,000 miles of driving. So they've never even burnished the brakes because they've been relying on regen the whole time.
That's great.
Yeah. We're checking for fluids just to make sure that everything is fine. Now you'll notice when I pull the under tray off, there is some fluid there. However, just keep in mind the condenser is there, so not all fluid is bad. It is expected for some water to leak from here from your AC unit.
I see.
There's actually a bleeder hose that usually sits somewhere right over here. I don't see exactly where it is here, but yeah, so if you see a little bit of water, or as long as it's clear residue, that is okay. What we want to look for is basically anything on the drive unit or near the oil tank itself. If you see a bunch of like residue or anything that looks like it's dripping from the drive units, that's probably something that you should have further inspected by Tesla service. That doesn't necessarily mean that there's a problem. However, you just want to make sure that everything on your vehicle is up to snuff, and usually signs of fluid leak and things of that nature are safety concerns or something at least worth having inspected further by the manufacturer before taking it to track for an extreme use case. So just something to keep in mind as well, but this is looking like a brand new car. I don't really see anything to keep in mind. It's really just this gasket and this oil filter that we're looking at here, and it looks like everything is up to snuff, so we should be all set there.